Hello everyone, this is Gary Russo, MarkLogic developer. Topic for today is how to create a search widget. I'm going to cover a few topics. The first one, just a quick recap of the previous screencast. I'm going to build on the previous screencast. I'm going to talk about a search widget versus a visual widget. I'm going to quickly show a transform results function. It might be handy just to quickly see that. I'm going to show you how to create a new search controller using the Roxy command line. Talk briefly about a cross-domain AJAX call. Then I'm going to show some quick pagination. I'll show some JSON structures. And then finally we'll show a test page with some jQuery code that's going to parse that JSON. So let me get started here. Just a quick recap. Here's the website called Boing Boing. It's a blog website. They're nice enough to publish their data. So I've taken that data and I've ingested it into MarkLogic. Just to quickly show you, here's the previous screencast. Rendered this 2-column layout. It's a 3-column layout right now, but I think I showed how to do 2-column versus 3-column. This is a Roxy application. Uses the model view controller Ruby style paradigm. Greatly simplifies web application development. Also very handy for creating web services and REST APIs. Quickly show you, this is the data. This is the data that's been ingested. It's in MarkLogic. You can see it's just a series of XML files. Let me drill down on that. It's only a dozen or so elements. There's the body here. This is actually the full text of the blog. And each of these blog posts have this permalink, and it has a year and title and author. So we covered that last week. Let's try make up some ground here. So what I did last time, this is the previous app, I jazzed up a little bit. I switched back to a 2-column layout. This is the 2 columns. And here's the results page here. Let me do a fresh search, and you can see that there's 64,000 XML documents. And if I was to do a search on, say, superheroes, it brings us back 12 results. I added some HTML styling here. What I wanted to show you quickly, each of these results, there's a function called transform results. It makes it easy to create this. So let me just jump to the code quickly. Here's the directory structure, the Roxy directory structure. Very familiar with to see consistency here. This configuration file, very important. This is the main thing that I use for controlling how the search is going to function. Here you can see how the facets, I got 3 facets: the author, category, created on. And right here, this is the important one right here, called transform results. If you notice here, it has reference to a library function. Actually, it's a helper function. It's snippet-lib, and the method, the function is called boing snippet. So let's take a look at that. If you look here, there's this helpers directory. Take a look here. Let me zoom that up for you. Nothing fancy here, just shows you how I'm iterating through some simple navigation code to grab the XML, pull it into this common structure. I'm using this tidy function. I don't know if anyone has seen this before, but it's a workhorse for me. So I use it to clean up maybe badly formed HTML or XML. So this is ultimately what's being done to render this page here. Let's show the main code that's doing this. So if I click on this main HTML, this is the primary view for the web front end. If I scroll down a little bit, you can see there's the pagination code. I'll publish this code so you'll have access to all this. But here is where the code, I'm cheating, I'm using tables. I should use divs, but I'm not a front-end person. I'm just focusing mostly on back-end data. And here I pull up the author, title, here's the body. And there's even this comments count. And if we go back and show you where, there it is. There's the results. This is fully functional. I could have facets in, everything else. Other thing I wanted to show you, I added, for each result, I added this link called OpenXML. If it's hard to see it right here, OpenXML, and I specify the URI for the document. And for that, I created a controller. Right here, it's called the view controller. If you could see that, and that calls this main XML jQuery file. Very simple. If you look at this, nothing to it really. I just do this response content type and display the XML. Let's take a look at what that looks like here. If I were to click this link, there you go. That's the XML, the underlying XML. You got the permalink, created on, base name, author, body. It's got 4 categories. So that's as far as the recap goes from previous. So we're building from the existing. We're using that same data set. So what I want to show you is that this notion of a search widget, it's a very commonly requested, easy way to add a search box to a website, to a web page that does a rich, faceted search using MarkLogic data. This is not to be confused with the new visual search widgets that have been added in MarkLogic 6. I've been able to do that to show you what that looks like. I created this quick app builder tool. This is a topic for another day, but here's what the visual widget looks like. This is an app builder application. Really not much code to do this. It's using that same database that we're working with. But you can see these 2 widgets, left side, right side. You could hover and you can see some nice pop-ups. But this is actually a live widget. So if I were to show me all the blog posts for books, and you can see it goes out and it filters. I got 1,763 documents on books. If I wanted to get something on gadgets, yeah, I got 2,841 blog posts on gadgets. So these are very handy, very nice looking. Future screencasts talk about that. A lot of great JavaScript going on to make that happen. But for now, let's just look at this. Let's go right to creating this search widget. So I'm going to show you how to create the search widget. First, I'm going to jump to show you what it looks like. I'm going to do a quick search on, say, superheroes. Superhero, and this is the HTML front end. You can see it brings 127 results. This is the search widget test page. You can see it's very simple, bare bones. I don't want to get anything fancier than this. It's got a style sheet with it and just simple HTML with jQuery code behind the scenes. So if I try search on superhero, and let's see how this goes out to server, and you can see there's the facets. I got paging parameters in the query string up here. If I scroll down, you can see here's the results. Very plain, shows the relevance, author, title, and the permalinks. All these work. Takes you right to the blog post. Let me show you all these facets are wired up and they're working fine. So you can see how it can filter through. And this is simple search widget. You can see how it has the MarkLogic grammar, search grammar up here. So that's a good demo. Let's quickly jump right into the code. So to do this, I had to create a search controller. Now I've already created it. It's working. And you can see in the controller there's this search jQuery file. But to create that controller, I used the Ruby command line. So you can see I have this nice thing about Roxy. It has this nice help screen. Here it shows you that if you want to create a controller, actually there's other creates. You could create a model, you could create tests, and you could create a new layout. For me, I'm just going to create this controller. Just look at that script again there. So it shows, so say I want to create, let's create one, search one, and we're going to make it JSON. It'll create something. I just want to show it create the code. It's going to create two files, the controller, and it's going to create a view for the controller. So what I usually like to do is I like to get some more information. So there's verbose option. There you go. It prompts me for yes, no. I say yes, and there we go. So we have the code. I do refresh. So it creates this search controller. That's what it looks like. It stubs out the code and creates this folder here for the view. This is the view, and you should get a hello world, and throw in some more stuff there. So get this to work, I'd have to just go up here and I gotta just deploy it out, as we showed last week, the last one. Deploying the modules to the development server. Just give it a few minutes, a few seconds really. Okay, it's deployed it, so let's give it a try. If I was to see, we'll try, it was a port 8090. Search one.json, right? And I should see some, there you go. Simple as that. At least we get some information. But that's just to show the mechanics of it. I'm going to delete those files that we just created. They're just demo purposes only. just remove it from the disk. I'm going to just quickly show you the JSON. Let's look at the JSON quickly, and then I'll show you some of the jQuery JavaScript code. So we go up here, and I'm going to do a search on superheroes. Let's give it a page size of 30, and there you go. So it's generating, you can see, rich JSON structure here. You could, up here, if you notice this thing called an SR callback, this is what I stick in there to allow for cross-domain AJAX calls. I mentioned earlier that it's a security violation for, well, most browsers restrict cross-domain JavaScript calls for security reasons. So their workaround is this thing called a JSON P. JSON, I think, stands for protocol. And it's very simple. Just wrap the JSON in a JavaScript function. So let me show you this for a second. Just wanted to show you this website here, json-p.org. Talks about this same origin policy that restricts browsers to do cross-domain function calls. The workaround is to create this JSON P. It's not workaround. It's a pretty secure workaround. So just quickly show you the code here once more. This is the JSON code. What I like to do is I'm going to copy this. I just want to validate it. I use this oxygen tool here to creates a JSON. I'm going to paste it into a new JSON document. And I want to delete that. So you can see up here, I'm going to delete this callback function. That function is actually going to exist in the client JavaScript. There's the JSON string. I click on this tab to format it, and you can see it's well-formed JSON. I can scroll down. I want to show there's three parts: pagination info, there's facet info, and then there's the results. Just to quickly show the code that I use. So the code to generate that JSON is in this view here called main.json.xquery. And what it's doing, it's taking that response XML and it's going to convert it into JSON. Now, Roxy has these really nice library to convert from XML to JSON. And I'm going to show it to you right here. There's this JSON library up here. and I showed earlier. Let's take the simple case. Pagination info, simple start and page length, total pages. So it's a JSON object wrapped in a JSON object, and that's what you see here. This is a JSON object, and let's quickly show another example. So I like to break into 3 parts. I found it easier. So the facets, I do this loop here. I get JSON array. There's JSON object that wraps around this JSON array. And there's a facet category name, and then the facet, and then there's the counts for the facets. Same thing here. If you look at the results, similar kind of thing. There's some custom code here to pull it in. Yeah, get that consistent JSON, and I got the snippeting in here as well. So worth looking at if you get a chance. Roxy has a nice JSON conversion library. I use it. It's my workhorse library. So that's just how I do the JSON conversion. I want to just go right now to the jQuery. So we got XQuery, we got jQuery. Let's look at the which is really the HTML. So this is the HTML page. Let me zoom it up for you a little bit. Quick thing to notice here. I have a style sheet called Search CSS. Quickly show you, it's very simple. I do minimal front-end work, but just enough to get this going. I'm using this jQuery library here. And this is my search string right here. I put the URL. This is the primary API that's being used. The parameters are built on the fly through JavaScript. Let me scroll down and show the HTML body. I know there's better ways to do this. I could refactor this a little bit, but here's the body tag on load. It calls this get search results method, and which is really this jQuery function up here, get search results function, and it pulls in the page parameter. Well, it gets this function down here, which builds the request URL. Now I'm going to publish all this code so you could look at it if you have free time. So I got the base URL, which is the MarkLogic server, and then I bring in all the Q parameter, the PG parameter, and the page size parameter. That's pretty much it. I think the important thing is the callback function that I wanted to show. So this does the call, calls out to the MarkLogic server, and it tells it, it says it's a JSON-P function. It's going to look for a callback named SR. So the client JavaScript's going to be using this callback method. So you'll see the callback down below. This code right here is just to clear out the page. Here's the results header. I got a function here for the facets, to render the facets. This is code that just parses the JSON. It's very straightforward. So this is the main callback function right here. So you make that request to MarkLogic, it returns back to the page, and it calls this function right here. So it's gonna, once it comes in, this data here is an array. It's a JSON array. It knows how to pull out the header information. I scroll down below here, and you can see how it's going to parse through. Here's an example of getting the results. Let's take a look at the search results here. Here's how I do the results. So I think I'm cheating a little bit. I'm still using tables. There's a TRTD tag, and I found it just easier to do it this way. Rely on my UI front-end experts to change it if they wish. So it just builds this HTML on the fly, and then it just outputs it here just as this depend each row. Nothing really fancy here either. And that's pretty much it. I wanted to quickly go back and we'll take a look. Here's the test page again, and say I want to just do a search on okay, I usually do New York City because it brings back a lot of data. And there you have it. So this is my webcast. Thanks for listening in. Stay tuned. I'll build on this further on the next screencast. That's Gary Russo, MarkLogic developer.